All right, this is Sue Frederick, and today we are immersing ourselves in the angelic ministry with answers to your questions about the angels and with a guided meditation to be with the angels for their healing presence. So, the first question comes from one of the angelic ministry students, and it is, what is how do we heal a trauma energy that we experience by witnessing something very painful in the human realm, or even having that really painful traumatic event happen in our own household near so that our family is affected by it? So that's a really good question to start us off. You know, the angels are our first responders, as we've talked about in so many of our classes. And the easy way to call them in is to simply close our eyes. And right now, you can do this with me. We'll just say, angelic beings in this moment, enter our household, wrap your arms around our family, and lift us up to a higher frequency so that the trauma, the fear, the chaos of some event that has unfolded will not have any lasting effect on us and will move through the energy of our household now. Because we know that in the higher frequency of love and joy, no fear, no pain can exist. And we lift into that higher frequency right now, trusting that the angels, as the first responders, arrived at that traumatic event before anyone else and already lifted those those humans who were suffering and in pain, already lifted them out of their body, lifted them into the divine realms, comforted them. They were not in that moment of trauma. And so we remind you that even though you witnessed it, perhaps you were only witnessing the human side of that trauma. So now we lift you back up into the angelic arms, above trauma, above pain, to the safety of the higher realms. There is no pain, trauma, when we lift above the physical. And we want you to trust that human beings, even in their darkest moments of pain and suffering, are not in those traumatic moments. They are not experiencing it. Only those who are witnessing it and brought into our fear are carrying that trauma. And so we ask the angels to move that out of our physical selves, move that out of our human minds, our human visual memories, delete it, lift us up above it. And in this moment, we trust that that is occurring. And we thank the angels for this. And so right now, based on that question, I'm going to take us into an angelic meditation that really does lift us up and bring us to that higher frequency. Because so many people on earth today are witnessing trauma, whether they're suffering from hurricane or weather trauma or war in different parts of the world, or watching someone they love suffer as they begin their journey of leaving the body. I'm here to remind you that they are not in that pain, but us, with our human eyes open, we are absorbing that pain. And yet we don't need to. We don't need to carry that. That is not ours to do. And so I will now, I will bring us through a moment of healing and meditation. So we now close our eyes and we feel these light energies of the divine beings lifting us up, even laughing in our ears, going, come and play with us, come and dance with us, come and laugh with us. All of those energies are higher than the human energy of pain and suffering. Those frequencies are available to everyone. So in this moment, we sit now, trusting that the angels are lifting us above it. So I'm going to bring you through a little meditation to rise above the body. And then we will let the angels take us to play. So as the healing purple light of divine energy pours down through the top of your head, it lifts you above human memories, human visual disturbances that are staying with you, audio disturbances that are staying with you. All of that only exists in the lower realms of the human mind. And this gorgeous purple healing light washes down through all of that, erasing it, shifting it up, restoring you to your angelic resonance. You are not a human being. You are a divine being. You have only temporarily taken a human journey, but it is not yours to bind yourself to. Your higher self, your greater self, is far above the human eyes that watch the earth realm unfold in front of you. When trauma is brought to your door, you can experience it as a human at first. You may cry, you may feel devastating sadness or grief, but you are not meant to stay in that. You are meant to lift above it with a wide open heart, trusting that even in those moments of darkest pain, the first responders, the angelic beings, are lifting up those whose bodies appear to be suffering greatly. They are already held by the divine beings. They are already brought into the God consciousness. And so knowing that humans on earth feel heavy in the dense energy, we allow this purple light to move down through every chakra of our human selves, purifying it, especially working with throat chakra first to move out the words that humans say that are so painful and disturbing. That is not our divine self speaking. So in this moment, our throat chakra opens wide to only speak from the higher soul, to only know the words of the divine frequency. And the purple light continues down, dropping the burden of human pain off of the shoulders, letting it flow, moving it out. And the human body now begins to feel lighter, begins to know that higher frequency. And now the heart chakra opens wide, knowing that its only true nature is the state of unconditional love. And in this moment, we aligned freely with that unconditional love of the God source, the highest frequency. And we bring our earth beings and our earth self up to that higher frequency of unconditional love. There is no suffering in this higher frequency. So we take any memories that we are holding on to and we offer them up now to this higher frequency of unconditional love and light. And we see them evaporate. Those visual memories are evaporating. The auditory memories of suffering being brought up now to the higher realms, where they too evaporate in this moment. And the physical trauma of being in the body, a witness to physical suffering. Now we bring that physical sense of trauma that we absorb with our empathy, with our compassion. We lift it up to the God source and let the angels and the God source evaporate it. We feel lighter now. And we move the purple light down and let it move and work through the abdomen where we tend to store our painful memories. This purple light washes through the abdomen now, clarifying it, releasing it, cleansing it of trauma. Like a beautiful bath in the beautiful healing pools of the divine. Washes through us. We feel restored, nurtured. And now the purple light continues down through the hips, the human hips that carry us and yet feel fragile at the same time. We restore them with golden rods of pure golden light, so they feel free to move and walk and run without any pain or fear in the human realms. And the purple light continues down through the legs that carry all humans through every trauma. This purple light now moves down, clarifying that you have legs of golden light. They carry you so easily through your painful moments and lift you up, restore you. Now, all of your pain is released through the bottoms of your human feet. And you see and feel the purple light turning you back into your own angelic self, knowing that all is well and suffering is not real. And now we bring the golden light from the God source down through the crown chakra, realigning you with the God source, with your freedom, your joy, your playfulness. And as this golden light moves down, we remember there is no suffering when the golden light is allowed to shine through us unfettered. And so you see yourself standing in that place of trauma, but now you are emanating golden light from your body. And you are watching that golden light move out through you, filling the space around you, filling the trauma memories, replacing them with golden light. moving out into the world of suffering on earth, being the golden being that lands in that space of suffering and transforms it into light. Feel your power, the divine power in you, gifted to you by the God Source and held up for you by the angelic beings. They are whispering in your ear now. Remember, it's easier than your mind wants it to be. You are a being of golden light when you open your heart and trust. Breathe in that knowingness. Remember who you are. And now I'm going to guide you through a very powerful quieting the mind meditation. And we're going to use a mantra that the Hindus have used for thousands of years. Om Namah Shivaya. 3 words. Om Namah Shivaya. Those words are the sacred Sanskrit words. They mean I connect to the divine, but we are not here to focus on their meaning. We are here to let their high frequency sound lift us above the earth realm. And so I will guide you through this. We begin by repeating those 3 sacred words, Om Namah Shivaya. Let them take a rhythm inside of us quietly. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 As your thoughts jump in, you will notice them. They are just from your mind. They are not from your soul. And you will smile about those thoughts. You will not feel any tension. And you will gently refocus your mind back to the sacred sounds. Om Namah Shivaya. 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 Om Shivaya. Continue doing this quietly. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. And the angels remind us that this is our path to peacefulness, to quiet the mind, to redirect it to sacred sound, sacred knowingness, that we are always held by divine beings. We are never alone walking this painful earth life. We are sacred beings. We are here on earth to remember this. Let your human trauma be your greatest moment of lifting into the sacred, no matter what unfolds around you. You use those sacred words, Om Namah Shivaya, lifting you up to a higher frequency of peace, of love, of knowing you are held by the divine beings. And the angels are now loving on us. They are carrying us through the day, rocking us with our pain, easing it. They're reminding us that their only job is to comfort humans on earth. And that even those humans who appear to be in great pain and suffering, their soul is being lifted up, held by the angels. This is how humans can know peace on earth, to focus on the divine until the invisible world becomes visible for you. And then you see those angelic beings around you. You see those angelic beings around others, and you nod at them with gratitude. And you let them kiss your face, your hair, and make you feel so loved and at peace and completely healed in your physical body, your emotional body, and your spiritual knowingness restored. And in this moment, we begin to come back into the physical body, because now we have learned the tool that we need. So take a breath back into the physical. And again. And again. Hello, my beloveds. I hope you will use this tool whenever you're feeling trauma, whenever you're feeling afraid. Those three words, Om Namah Shivaya. They are sacred Sanskrit words. Om is actually the sound of God, and when we cross over, we hear that sound. Om, that frequency is the God source. And now, because we're in the human realm, I want to answer some questions I've been sent about angels, And then I'll open it up to you all who are here to ask me more questions. So, one question I keep repeatedly being asked is, what is the difference between the angelic beings, the spirit guides, the council of elders, and the God source? And when we read the human Bible, I call it the human Bible because it was written by man, we are told a story about the limitations of angels. They have certain names and qualities, and they're often warriors. But when we lift above the human mind and we go into the awareness of our soul's wisdom, we're shown that angelic beings are beings of light. They come from the highest source of God consciousness. We can think of them as being the enactors of God consciousness on earth, because God consciousness is simply unconditional love, no judgment, no fear, no pain. The God source is all-knowing wisdom and unconditional love. It is light and playful energy, and the angels carry that to earth, and they come to humans in their darkest moments, before the ambulance arrives, before the loved one arrives to help you, and they are already lifting you above the pain, above the fear, above the sorrow. And it is only your human mind that tries to ignore that. Now you have the tools to override the human mind. You can repeat the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, or you simply feel them, see them, allow them to comfort you. The spirit guide has a different energy. You can think of the spirit guide as your counselor. The spirit guide has loved you since you were a being of divine light. And the spirit guide comes in with a sense of ancient wisdom, unconditional love, but will look at where you are in your journey and honestly help you, guide you, tell you what you need to work on more, what you need to lean into more in order to accomplish your soul's mission in this lifetime. So the counselor, the spirit guide, comes to you with love, answers your questions, but they are not just those beautiful beings of light, laughter, and healing that the angelic beings are. So the counselors, your spirit guides, you ask them those questions like, how am I doing on my life path? What do I need to do better, more of? And they will give you really clear answers to those things. And then we come to the Council of Elders. Oh, and by the way, your spirit guide has loved you through every lifetime you've had, every incarnation, and they had to approve your life plan for each incarnation, including this one. So when you have a question about why is this life so hard, your spirit guide is here to say, well, look what you're trying to learn and accomplish here. This is why this challenge is here to serve you. And they will always answer those questions for you. And then we go to the Council of Elders. The Council of Elders are the highest frequency beings. They never come to earth. You can think of them as extensions of the God force. So when you need to stand before a council and get some illuminating awareness, the Council of Elders will take form for you. There's always more than one. They speak as a collective, and their answers. I've guided so many people through a meeting with their council, and it amazes me how they always get the same tone of answer from the council. And that tone is more like amusement from the council. The amusement, what I mean is a human will ask, how am I doing in my life plan? And the council will sort of be amused by that question. And they'll say things like, "We are always amused by the things you struggle with on earth. And we will tell you that lifting up above that pain and fear is easier than you make it." They will always answer you from a higher level of amusement and humor because they've never walked the earth realm. They don't quite know the experience of human pain that we have here in the earth realm. And I want you to trust that the council cares about you endlessly and unconditionally, but they don't quite walk in this realm with us. The spirit guide does, and the angelic beings do, and they know how hard it is here. And then we go to the God source. The God source is a non-entity being. You can think of it almost as the force of love and light that created and rules this divine order universe. When you think of Star Wars and learning about the Force, this is very much in alignment with how powerful the God source is. The God source is the emanating light that brings everything to its highest awareness, its understanding of the evolution of consciousness. This is the God source. So, as humans on earth, what we can do for our immediate help is we can call on the angels, we can call on the spirit guides, and then when we're ready for the hard truth, we can go and meet with the Council of Elders. And whoever you call out to, even if you're calling out, "God help me," you will have help. You will have answers. Every prayer is answered. Every request is answered. And remember, these sacred Sanskrit words are an easy way to shift your focus from the earth world to the divine world. So, on that note, I'm going to open it up for question and answer. So, please, if you have a question, unmute yourself, and now is your time. Annette, did you want to respond?
Um, yeah, that was beautiful. That was really beautiful. And the meditation and the mantra and um I I was actually at the window at that time of the accident and did mantras for that man who passed. And because I was pretty much there at that moment and then for another 10 hours. So I if I'm really understanding it, he also was lifted up right away and was actually released
Yes.
because all his relatives were there and his brothers and there were 100 people and of course, but he felt to me it felt like he was lifted immediately into the divine.
You're completely right. You're completely right about that. But isn't it interesting how all the humans around him
Yeah.
were in their pain and their trauma and their human drama? And that's normal. That's how the earth realm behaves. And yet we've been appointed, we're part of the angelic ministry. And so it is our job to bring
Mm.
that higher frequency, that higher awareness in a moment of trauma. So you were called to the task that happened in front of you for you to
Mhm.
be able to practice your angelic ministry and even help lift those humans who were suffering around the trauma, lift them to a higher frequency. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
totally. That's how it felt.
Yeah.
And then his brother came, and I thought, well, yeah. he was standing right in front of standing all out there, and he said, like, yeah, that was my brother. And there was another brother working with him because it was clearly neglect of the giant vehicles there all rolled over. It's like crazy. And neglect of the city, actually, who making a new pavement.
Mhm.
And and he told me the story in that moment where everybody was lying, the body was lying there. He said, he's like, and he also lost his child. And I thought, immediately my first thought was he wanted to be with him.
And that child spirit was right there,
It's right there
lifting
for
that.
him.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I'm just thinking about that poor wife.
Yes. I
Oh
mean, when we think about the circle of life,
my God.
we have to really see that death is not the end, and it's not
Mhm.
the horrible trauma that humans embrace it as. And that when we have especially loved ones that we care about so much in the divine, that our moment of exiting the human world is so wrapped in love, so brought to those beings. And that man in that accident was so happy to see his beautiful child spirit
I
there.
had the feeling really because he looked actually, I saw him several times before. We spoke with him and cutting a little bit our branches off the trees. And so
Yes.
he was 37 years old and really like he was somewhat removed already.
Yes.
It was because he was like I was waving and he turned around and he looked already like he left it.
Yes.
It's so weird.
Yes.
I thought like what is with we found out his name is Javier and then getting it, wanting to lift up his family too. Because I mean, obviously it happened. So we put lights out there and they're flickering now. So something like where they can come back to.
Yeah.
Um, because in Mexican tradition is they visit the
Yeah.
place
That's right.
once a year, so they're
Yeah.
coming back. They're coming to see what happened. And
Yeah.
so it was a very, very deep experience. And then I went with my dear friend Claudia on a walk on Monday. So this happened on Friday, on Monday. And then we saw a butterfly. You will not believe this. It's just amazing. We saw a butterfly lying on the ground where we walked. And we put it gently with a leaf to the side of the path so nobody steps on it. And Claudia said, let's go and take our walk. And when we come back, we see if it's still okay. But it was practically lifeless. On the way back, it was still there. Lifted it up with a leaf, sitting on my right hand and start to flip the wings. And then I took it into the car. I handled everything with the left hand because I was sitting there. And as soon as when I arrived here at my home, exactly where Javier passed, the butterfly took off.
Love that.
I opened the door. It was only 6 inches, and it zoomed out high into the sky and over our neighbor's house.
Oh,
I
beautiful.
was like, oh my goodness, how can that possibly be?
I want to share a story that I've never forgotten about a woman. She was in her early 30s, had a perfect marriage, a perfect life with her husband. This was in Boulder, Colorado. And they were so in love. They'd met young and gotten married, and they were so in sync and so happy. And he was, like many people in Boulder, Colorado, he was kind of a world-class cyclist. And every weekend they would spend Saturday together having fun. And then on Sunday, he would go for his long, many-hour bike ride. And um, Boulder is filled with these kinds of athletes, and you see them on the road all the time. And so this beautiful woman told me that she had had this day with him before. That's that day he went for the bike ride, where they had just had more fun than ever. He had said, let's go eat cake. And he was an athlete, so he never ate cake, but he said, let's go to that bakery and have some of that cake that you love. And they had gone to that bakery and had cake and everything. And she was like, really? You're going to be able to go on your bike ride tomorrow after eating this? And he was, yeah, I'm good. And they just played and they had a wonderful night. And then that day, the morning he left for his bike ride, and she went out to work in her garden. And she was working there. She's a great gardener, had beautiful flowers, and she was working in the garden. And all of a sudden, she was surrounded by white butterflies. And she
Mm,
said it was so uncanny how these white butterflies came and they landed on her and on her head and on the plants. And at first she was kind of scared, like, what is this? Is this an infestation or something? And then she sort of looked up and felt this love all around her and saw this mass of white butterflies.
yeah.
And then she sat in it, and then all of a sudden she kind of came to a realization and went, oh no. And she picked up her cell phone and called her husband, and there was no answer. And at first she was like, well, I'm not going to worry because he does go out of phone range sometimes. And so then she tried to go into her house and just kind of relax, but she kept feeling this different frequency. And the day kept going with no word from him. And around sunset set time, the sheriff arrived at her house and said, we have to tell you that your husband was killed immediately this morning by a drunk driver and that he had no moment of suffering. It took him right away and it happened very suddenly. We believe that he just died instantly. There was no suffering. And this drunk driver, we have him and we have him in prison now. And your husband did nothing wrong. He was a beautiful man. And she sat in her living room knowing that at the moment he left his body, he came right to her and surrounded her with white butterflies. And of course, she has to go through her grief journey, and she did. But for days, she was surrounded in that higher frequency of his energy and his departure. Um, the things that brought her back into the lower frequency was like many humans, she had to go and testify. She had to deal with the court proceedings, all of that stuff that humans say is justice, but it actually brings us into such a lower energy. And she was so glad when all of that court proceeding was over. It was big news in the Boulder newspaper, but she had known instantly that he was good. And it was only the people on the earth who were going to turn it into this horrible trauma. And the
Mhm.
trauma continues. That story continues on earth. But this is the duality of being human. The duality which you witnessed in that accident you saw out of your window, of seeing it through the soul's lens and feeling the grace and love and comfort of the higher beings, and at the same time seeing
Mhm.
it through the human lens of suffering and pain and justice and anger and blame. That is the duality of walking the earth realm and why it is so challenging. We
Mhm.
can't ever be completely on earth without having part of us in the human realm, but it's our mission to lean more into the divine realm. Thank you for sharing your story, Annette. Marcia, did you have a question or an observation or anything? And you have to unmute, sweetie.
Um, yes, I had a question. Um, Yesterday in the regression course, it had come up, a lifetime had come up where I was a healer and I had felt guilt because I wasn't able to heal. There had been a time I had gone through regression therapy previously, and I was a healer, and I was burned at the stake. And I get emotional every time I talk about that, even though I know, you know, I still get emotional. And what came up during the meditation we did just now was I'm terrified of being a healer.
Mm.
And I guess my question is that what I'm to do in this lifetime? And have I been dancing around avoiding that out of fear?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, beautiful Marcia, you've done nothing wrong. Nothing. You are a divine, powerful being, and you have been walking the journey of physical pain that you did not cause. It is not your fault. And you can even look at the story of Christ, that the humans have always told the story that it was through the human suffering that Christ saved humanity. And if we drill that down to the metaphysical viewpoint, we know that if our body chooses a path of physical suffering in this lifetime, it's not doing anything wrong. It's an accelerated growth path. I want you to be at peace with whatever you're doing and being and thinking. If you have the energy and the ability to do healing work, do it on your own body, send it out to the world, but don't stress yourself that you need to be stepping up in the world right now and offering your healing gifts to the world. Work with your daily meditations, use that Om Namah Shivaya. We all have past lifetime trauma, but the reason we don't remember it when we come into this life is because we're not supposed to be held back by that. So don't keep focusing on the pain of those past lives. You were shown them so that you could forgive yourself for the fear that you have about being a healer, not so that you would keep reliving it.
Mm.
And the only thing that's going to help you with that is your meditation, your spiritual work, your calling in the angels, doing your own energy healing on yourself and others in any way that you can. I want to relieve you of any pressure that your human self is putting on you, that you've got this huge work you're supposed to be doing. You can do it quietly in bed. We can surround our whole room and then our house and then our community and then the world with our golden healing energy without ever leaving home. So start there. Don't beat yourself up. When you feel that trauma memory coming back and the fear, remember this affirmation: I am a powerful divine being. I lift up above human pain, human fear. I find my peace in the remembrance that I am above all a golden being of light, and no suffering can hurt my soul. And keep claiming that place for yourself. Let go of resistance. There's a beautiful mantra I was saying yesterday. See if I can find it. It's for you, Marcia. It just is: I release my resistance to this moment. And we'll just close our eyes, and I release my resistance to this moment. That is an important thing, especially when we're suffering in the physical body, because our resistance to it makes it worse. And even when we're in physical pain or having physical other kinds of issues, there is a resistance in us that always makes it harder. And we don't need that. So we surrender for highest good. We release our resistance to it. I know I've said in other classes that even if we're having to throw up or anything awful, we say, I surrender this moment for God. I surrender this action for the highest beings. Take it from me. I will live through it without resistance. Make every moment your sacred act. And on that note, I think I'm going to end our little talk and invite you all back next month, because this is how we're going to do these angelic ministry meetings on Patreon. And hopefully you can bring other people next time, because they don't have to have completed my course. I'm just giving people an ability to see what it's all about, to experience it, and to find that inner peace that we have in these moments of quieting the mind. And that's for everybody, not just the people in my classes. So on that note, we quiet, close our eyes. On that note, we close our eyes. We embrace this moment of peace, knowing that we are lifted up, feeling that wisdom, not dwelling in our earth stories, our earth pain. We are now committing to using mantra in the future to lift us above our moments of struggle. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. And all is well. Thank you. I love you. Many blessings.